Welcome, guys. We're live. What's that music still going? Yes, we're live. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well. Suffering a bit in Sydney now because it's a bit hotter than what I'm used to, and so I've recently moved, so I'm in the hot area of Sydney now. So yeah, feeling the heat.
So do we have somebody with the? I can hear the background. Can you guys hear it in the background?
Turn the volume down on mine, maybe.
And we can hear somebody else watching it.
Just mute the sound on YouTube.
Are you watching YouTube, are you, Chris?
No.
Oh.
How's that, guys? We'll just see what's going on here. That's going to be annoying. Chris, can you just turn your sound off for a minute? Just turn your sound off.
Yeah, no, it's all the way down, but I'm just going to get my headset.
Is it off now? There's something really going weird here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so BYD have got we've got. Hang on. Apologies to everybody. That was me. That was me. So I've got the Mac over there, and somehow that was kind of running as well. Okay, so what we're going to talk about tonight, the BYD and the different models they've got. We've all driven a lot of them, and I'd like to talk about my experiences with them. But BYD have got 3 models and 6 variants. Some say there's a great overlap, and some potential buyers don't know which one to buy, and there's some confusion as to which one they should be. There's also conversations as to whether they're Tesla killers or not Tesla killers. So that's all rather interesting. And also, Ian has done a lot of research over the last few days on what BYD is doing overseas and what he's going to predict is going to happen over here. Now, so hello to everybody who is watching. This is a fairly new thing that Chris and Ian and I are doing. Chris, by the way, is from Chris EV Trips, which is a fantastic YouTube channel. And Ian has a website called One Finite Planet, which is very interesting. Anyway, so let's just talk about the Seal first, shall we?
Go ahead, Ian. You've driven it, and how does it compare to the Tesla Model 3 that you also drove? You're a busy man.
Yeah, so a lot of people are comparing the two together, and I really think that I think that they're totally different cars, but most people think that they're competitors to each other. There's no doubt about the Model 3. The Model 3 is a nice car to drive at night time. It's a really nice car when the sun's not out. Now, I found it really hot. Some people said I didn't have the air conditioning set up correctly. I went back to Tesla the next day and I took some screenshots of how I had they set the air conditioning up, and it was correct. I've spoken to other people who've got Teslas, and they kind of concur with what I was saying. When you're sitting in the Tesla and you've got a hot sun, your top of your head gets hot. Have you tried that, Chris, have you been in the Tesla?
Yeah, I have experienced the same thing as you. So I think Tesla's designed for cool. Unless you get a blind on top, I wouldn't be very happy. I would definitely put a blind up, even in Sydney, and then go. And Queensland's much hotter than Sydney, so yeah, I don't know how people can survive with just the glass. So, but yeah,
And yet,
I've felt it.
And yet, when I drove the Seal, I got to say I was out in 36 degrees, and I was touching the glass roof, which you really can't do in the Tesla, and it was
Wow.
it was fine. So
There's no blind on that one, is there? At the moment, the ones that
you
they're
get
importing,
you get a blind.
you do.
You do. I've seen the blind. It's quite a good blind, but the glass has got, as I've been told, silver inside the glass, so it looks opaque when you look at it. But when you're inside, you can look up and see the clouds. And if you get close to it on the top, you can see it. So I wouldn't say it's heavily tinted, but it certainly is opaque, and it certainly doesn't reduce the heat. I saw a YouTube channel from Thailand where he did some heat testing, and he had an infrared gun, and he was taking the temperature of the glass. He took the temperature. It was a 36 degree day. He took the temperature of the glass, and it was 36 degrees, as you'd expect. And then he took the temperature of the windscreen, and it was 55. So that kind of tells you the sort of difference. So he owns the Seal, and he also says that the Seal is really good, and he's in Thailand, and he doesn't use a suntan.
Right. What do you think about the glass, Ian? Obviously, Ian, one finite Ian. When it comes to glass, is it obviously there's a bit more metallic layers or more heat rejection in the BYD glass than Tesla glass? Would you agree?
Yeah, well, you can do much more heat. You can make it quite opaque to infrared if you want. I mean, most glass has some opaqueness to UV as well, but it depends on how far down the frequency the opaqueness to UV goes. I've only sat in a Seal indoors at this stage, so
yeah.
So I don't have the experience of actually trying it, but it was a sort of, even indoors you could tell it was quite tinted effectively, and that's just the visible light, but the most effect for blocking the heat is what you do with the infrared and UV.
Yeah, so I think.
Well, infrared for the heat and UV for getting sunburnt through the glass.
So I saw some specs out at BYD, and I don't want to quote. I'll quote them, but don't take them as absolute gospel. But the S, what's it called, SVC? Yeah, we put suntan lotion on, and it says 35 and all that. The blockage one. It said it was 285. 285 is that glass, and it blocks 90. I think it was 95% of the infrared, or it's an incredible amount.
But it seems BYD have done the right thing with the glass, and Tesla haven't. Tesla's glass is for European countries and not for hot. As we know, those cars get way too hot. And if I was looking at a sedan, that would be a big factor for me. I don't want to get into a boiling hot car every time I park outside. So I think Tesla's got to change a bit there.
There's a difference between the two brands in philosophy. BYD is very conservative, is what you get the feel of, and Tesla's more out there on the edge. And there's good and bad to each of those positions. The sort of being out there on the edge has its pluses, and being conservative has its pluses. The biggest minus of the conservative with BYD is, even when they go fast, they don't feel as fast as a Tesla that it has the same acceleration.
Mate, you go for a drive in the Seal and tell me that.
Oh, yeah. But you go for the same performance Model 3, and it feels even faster, partially because it's instant. The use of the maximum torque at 0 revs is really pushing that envelope with the Tesla, whereas on the BYD, they sort of soften the edge of that to take it easier on the drivetrain.
Yeah, I find that annoying in the Atto 3. I think that's way too soft to start. I think they should hopefully they introduce some better software. If you're in sport, you want to go. You don't want to have the delayed start sort of thing, which I find a bit annoying, but it can be updated.
So just going back to your point, Ian, about the two philosophies, I slightly disagree. I think that the Tesla people, I don't think it's conservative and non-conservative. I think that the Tesla don't care too much about the end user in the sense that they're not trying to cater for that. They're really designing something that they really like, and you come for the ride, just like Apple. You know, Apple will change and do stuff, and that's just what you got to do. And I think that's Tesla's view. But I think BYD is saying, well, you know, what's the market want? And I think the glass screen, the sunroof really reflects that. No pun intended. But I think it really reflects it because, if you talk to a Tesla rep about the glass, they say, no, it's not a problem, just turn the air conditioning on. And here we are trying to be conservative, without using too much power. And we've got, this electric car, which is supposed to be, reduce carbon emissions and all that sort of stuff. And we've got the air conditioning turned up full blast because we want to have a bit of glass over the top of our heads. It's not some.
Yeah. Well, Tesla doesn't have much
the experience
competition.
of being in the Tesla with a blind inside, and it was a problem because the glass is still letting the heat in. So the heat was just heating the blind on the inside of the car.
Chris, have you had your Atto 3 with the blind open in the sun?
I've actually installed a reflective panel on the rear section of mine because I don't like the heat. But I've used it.
On the inside or the outside?
Yeah, on the inside, it's stuck on with little suction cups, and it's about it's only $20 or something from China. But I thought it's getting hot now, and I park outside all day when I go to work. So I don't want to get back to a hot car. And sometimes I forget to turn my air conditioning on 10 minutes before I get to the car. So,
you need a solar mat for the roof.
Yeah, solar mat. Yep, that's what's in there as well. But even so, even the black blind that's in the Atto, it makes a huge difference to the amount of heat that comes into the car.
But the blind makes a difference in the heat hitting you. But the heat's got to get to the interior anyway, because by the time it gets to the blind, unless the blind is reflective, it just moves where the heat is in the car.
So you guys have both got Attos. Do you feel the heat coming through the blind?
I haven't particularly. Not really. It does come through the windscreen.
Oh yeah, I know that.
I've had vehicles with heat-resistant windscreens where it doesn't come through, and the Atto doesn't have that.
Yeah, I would say I leave my car parked outside in the sun all the time, and I think the roof's as good as a steel roof. I don't notice a difference, but I don't have window tinting either.
This is live. No, this is live. This is live, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
14 minutes of live.
40 minutes of. 40 minutes. Yeah. So the other thing is that I drove the Seal Performance and the Seal Dynamic, and two things I'd like to say, just if it's time, and that is the heads-up display. When you're driving the Atto, I've got to wear glasses to see the dashboard for the cruise control, and that it's not good. But that heads-up display, it's in exactly the right spot. It's got your speed. It's got the speed limit. It's got your cruise control speed, and it's got your distance from the cars in front. Just sitting there, you don't have to look anywhere. That's another thing. Tesla say no, you've got to look on the screen on the left. Where BYD says, hey, you have one of these, and you have one of these, and you have one of those.
Take a 10-inch
I think
display.
Tesla was designed around the idea that you wouldn't be driving all their own predictions were that people wouldn't be driving. So if you wouldn't be driving, then why do you need a driver display?
Good point.
Yeah, that's probably. And the other thing was the driving experience of the two seals. They're totally different. The dynamic feels just like the Atto, except you're lower. Like it's like someone dropped your legs off you, kind of down low, and it looks kind of the same inside as well. But the acceleration's the same type of acceleration. It's still quick. I mean, remember the XU1, the Toronto XU1? Its 0 to 100 was 7.5 seconds. Did you know that? And here we are saying the dynamic's slow because it only does it in 7.5 seconds, for goodness sake. But then I got into the seal. The seal performance, mate, it is incredible. You know, you've probably been in fast cars before, but I haven't really been in one like this. But you know, when you take off in the you get pushed into the seat and you accelerate, right? Well, with a seal performance, you get pushed into the seat, you get pushed into the seat, you get pushed more into the seat, you keep getting pushed into the seat as it's going faster. It's just, the acceleration is not linear. The acceleration is not exponential, but certainly
it builds up. That's a very BYD thing. Whereas Tesla tends to give it to you all at once, and you get very constant acceleration, and then it dies off a bit. But BYD tends to build up the acceleration.
Well, it still gets.
It's still 3.8 seconds or two. It wasn't very long ago. That was not even dreamt of by supercars.
Yeah, but 3.8 seconds is pretty quick, even if it isn't. Even if it is, sorry. The other thing too is I've worked out why some people say it's scary and some people don't say it's scary. Not necessarily the seal, the Tesla, whatever. When you're driving, it's not scary, and the reason it's not scary is because you've got control of the accelerator. So you know when you're going to go. If you're a passenger, all you know is you're being pushed back and back and back, and everything's going blurry past you, and you don't know what's going on. So, because my son does that to me when I get to go in his Tesla performance, or what do they call it? But as far as handling goes as well, the performance has got tricked up suspension. I didn't know the name of it. I've forgotten the name of it. But anyway, it's excellent suspension when it comes to handling. I went on a roundabout and I deliberately sat on 59, 60, constant speed, and just turned. And it was just brilliant. Sorry.
So does that mean you go by a performance, Ian? Or which one would you choose over the Model 3 and the performance?
The heat in the Tesla turned me off. It definitely did. And when I went back and said, mate, there was something wrong with the air conditioning because it's just so hot. And he said, no, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And then I found out that the air conditioning only goes to here. And that's why the top of your head doesn't, because it doesn't go up.
Yes. Yeah, I've noticed that effect as well because I've sat in
one.
one.
An issue that air conditioning is a target air temperature, whereas when you've got radiant heat hitting you, you get hot without the air getting hot. Yeah. So that the same air conditioning setting just doesn't work. So if you've got the thermostat set at a typical 20 degrees, if the sun's coming straight in and hitting you, you still get hot.
Yeah. Okay, let's just have a look at some. Being an excellent site, live stream. At Dylan and myself get a blue wrench admin so we can monitor the chat and block any troll accounts or comments. I'm not sure what you mean, but if you'd like to, I'll leave my email address down below. If you'd like to email me and tell me what you're talking about, I'm sure we can work that out. I'm sure we won't get any.
I think it's the chat window that pops up there, Ian. That's open for anybody to add a comment. Is that what? Trying to say? Yeah.
It's probably the YouTube interface, and we're actually working through the StreamYard interface first to feed it to YouTube. But it's the YouTube where the where the comments are coming.
So I've got the YouTube set that you don't have to be a subscriber to comment, because I really wanted lots of comments from people who agreed and didn't agree. You know, I didn't want just everybody on the same page. I mean that would be boring. And he's back. So yes, I don't, just on the Seal sedan, I don't think it feels too low to the ground. It's a sedan and it feels like a performance sedan that is, like, you know, obviously it's low to the ground. Didn't feel too low to the ground. The only time I felt that it was low was when an Atto 3 had a set of traffic lights was alongside me, looking up at it. But look, I'll throw over to Ian, because Ian's been doing some research on what's happening overseas with BYD. So he's asked, do we know when the right-hand drive Seal U SUV will come to Australia?
I have some doubts that they'll call it the Seal U in production.
Well,
I don't know. I think it's a mistake if they do, to be honest. But the vehicle in question, that they've got some here and they're testing them. It's in China. It's called a Song Plus Champion Edition.
It's got nothing to do with the Seal, though, has it?
It's got nothing to do with the Seal. It's not even from the same family as the Seal. In China, they have two BYD distribution channels, one for the Ocean Series vehicles and totally separate dealers for the Dynasty Series. And the car that has so far been called the Seal U in Europe, etc., is actually from the Dynasty Series, not from the Ocean Series. It's not on the E-Platform 3.0.
It's hybrid, isn't it?
It's available as a hybrid. Is it also available as a pure EV? But the suggestion is that the one they're bringing to Australia may first off be the plug-in hybrid. And weirdly enough, that may even be a good thing, because that vehicle in pure battery version, as it is at the moment, seems to put out very low power, and the performance is rather disappointing. You're talking 8 seconds for one version and 10 for another, for 0 to 60 times or 0 to 100 times, depending on. That was a British or an Irish review coming up with the time.
What about the Sea Line?
Well, the Sea Lines are different. So you've then got 3 SUVs, all built on the E-Platform 3.0. The Sea Line is the most basic one. Then up from that, you've got the Song L, which is a completely different vehicle to the Song Plus, and it's even nicer than the Sea Line. And then you've got the Denza N7, which is above both of those.
So with your research, what do you think is coming to Australia?
I think we're getting the Seal U / as a PHEV. It's been said that very recently at the opening of the centre in Sydney, it was said that the next car coming is going to be a PHEV version. Whether it also comes as a pure battery version, that vehicle does come as a pure battery version. But as I said, the performance isn't stunning. The only way it's an interesting platform they have, where their plug-in hybrids are sort of like range extenders, in that they have versions where it's purely electric powered, the vehicle, but they have a mode where the power goes straight from the generator through to the motor without even going to the battery, in order to conserve battery cycles. Because the big downside of hybrids and plug-in hybrids is battery life. batteries tend to last a certain number of cycles. So if your range on pure battery power is very short, because I mean the total distance you can travel on battery power is that number of cycles times the range of one cycle.
Sure.
Which is why the leaves are Nissan Leaf. Some of them are already, it only lasted 8 years. There was a combination of the fact that it's a NCM battery, which doesn't have the life of an LFP, but they were only 20 kilowatt hour batteries. So only get 1/3 of the range.
Getting back to BYD.
Well, getting back to BYD. So what you've got to do when you go to a plug-in hybrid is find out how am I going to solve the problem of the small battery not having a short life. And step one is you use LFP, and step two is you sometimes don't even involve the battery in powering the vehicle and go straight from the generator.
So from what
that's what BYD has done, which is why their plug-in hybrids are a breed apart from all others on the market.
So do you think that so we've got the Seal sedan now, and from what I understand, the C-Line is the same as the Seal we've got now, but an SUV version. That's right, isn't it?
Well, the C-Line 07, because there's a 05, 06 and 07. The only one we've seen in the flesh is the 07. The 07 is sort of a Model Y competitor.
Okay, yeah. So
then you've got the Sol L, which is about the same size, but it's upmarket from the a Tesla. Effectively, it's slightly upmarket. And then you've got the Denza N7, which is even further upmarket.
Yeah, but just getting back to what's in Australia. So you got the BYD Seal sedan.
None of those coming to Australia. You've got the Seal U, which is basically a vehicle designed to be plug-in hybrid or pure electric, and not as premium as any of those. So you don't think?
Okay, so I, from what I can understand, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that the Seal sedan is, if that's like the Model 3, the C-Line is like the Model Y.
Yes.
And it doesn't. And you're saying they're not going to bring that to Australia?
Not yet. The vehicle that's coming first is going to be a plug-in hybrid, as from all evidence.
Sure, but it's a different market again. Just for those people that are thinking about the Seal, and they say, "I like the Seal, I like its speed and all that, but it's too low to the ground. The doors are it's too hard to get into." I'll wait for the SUV version. Now, the Seal U is not going to be the SUV version of the Seal.
No, it is not an SUV version. It is from a different series, but it's a refreshed version of an older car.
Okay, so I think what I'm getting at is, do you think BYD will bring in so this Seal that's there now is a Tesla killer, so to speak, a Tesla Model 3 killer speak. Do you think from what you've read and what you've looked at that they're going to come out with a Y equivalent?
Oh, they've got Y equivalents. I don't think they'll be bringing one to Australia next year.
Why is that?
That's their choices. They're focused at this stage on bringing a plug-in hybrid, or two plug-in hybrids, in fact, next year.
So is that Chinese decision? Is that China's decision, or is that Australia, BYD Australia?
I'm not sure. It's sort of certainly espoused a lot by Luke Todd, but it's seen to be supported by BYD Australia as well.
That seems crazy.
But the words of BYD Australia suggested they may push to accelerate the plans and bring more than 2 models next year.
Well,
they're really pushing.
So what I heard today is they'll bring a Ute out by early next year, and the C-Line was coming out about mid next year. But
they're bringing what? Sorry, what did you hear?
that they're bringing a ute out, a tradies ute out.
The ute comes later. Early next year comes the plug-in hybrid SUV, and then later comes the ute.
Okay.
That's what I've heard.
So he
I
can
think
say
we've got to
they're
get back
not-
to fundamentals.
Just see what this guy says. So they'll be not bringing out a right-hand drive BYD C-Line 07 to Australia. The C-Line yeah, I agree. It's much better. I don't understand why they're not bringing it out. Sorry, Chris, what were you saying?
Yeah, I
It
mean,
could be-
that's
it could be an
what Sensei is saying is basically supporting what I've seen as well. That they're not bringing the C-Line 07 yet. Who knows what they'll do down the track, but their focus is on bringing the CLU, which seems like a less attractive vehicle, but it will probably have longer range, maximum range on the highway because it'll be using petrol to do it. To produce
if
that
I was
highway.
BYD,
Well, I'm
If I was
disappointed
BYD.
because. Sorry, Chris.
if I was BYD, I'd be bringing a direct competitor out to Model Y. I wouldn't be worrying about plug-in hybrids. No one really wants them. They're being phased out. I can understand a ute being a plug-in hybrid, but a sedan is not necessary. 80 kilowatt battery is way more than what you need. It's not necessary to bring out plug-in hybrids, and I don't
I'm
think
with
they're going
you.
to sell.
I'm with you, Chris. So on the Tesla 3, you don't have any stalks at all. You change your blinkers with an up and down arrow on the driver's on the steering wheel. And I saw Tesla Tom, testing that on a roundabout, and I was really keen to give it a go as well. I found no problem at all. I found it really, really easy to do. Dylan, I didn't have any problem at all. Going around the third and fourth exit, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I didn't have a problem. That's my view anyway.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I've moved from cars from the indicator stalks from side to side and various things.
Yeah,
And
well,
there's that one of where you get into the vehicle and you go, oh no, I wanted to make sure the windscreen was clear before I turned.
well, you don't have that problem in the Tesla, mate. I tell you. I will say one thing about the Model 3. The steering wheel feels unreal. It really feels good.
Oh, it'd be interesting to see what happens, whether the Seal can match the Model 3 for sales, but only time will tell. Because not everyone wants to drive around in a Tesla. I think that's a big selling factor for BYD, is that people want to have a car that's different from anybody else's, and that's why I like BYDs. But there's so many Attos on the road now, I don't feel special anymore. They're everywhere.
So I think the Seal is really going to draw sales away from the ICE cars, and I think it's going to bring more people to the market. I don't think there's this special market that Tesla 3 owners, buyers, that are going to swing to the Seal and therefore reduce. I don't think Tesla Model 3 are going to reduce any sales as a result of the Seal. I think what will happen is some of the Tesla 3 people buy Seals, but more people are going to come into the market. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think there's a whole different segment have come for the BYD Seal performance, and that's the performance car buyers. So they got to choose between the MG4 now and the BYD Seal performance, and that's a whole different market.
Are you comparing the MG4 to the Seal performance?
MG4, what is it called? The fast one, the 4-wheel drive one. Isn't it? What's that one called?
Yeah, but it's a very different vehicle. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, I know, but there's at least there's two in the same price.
A hot hatch.
Yeah, but now before a performance car electric was 90,000. Now it's 68, and I think the MG is even cheaper. But so that's a whole new market that's going to come across to EVs that would never have one to spend.
So excuse my ignorance, but what does the MG do 0 to 100 in?
It's nearly as quick. I'm not sure that it's around 4 seconds.
The performance version, the top performance version, which isn't yet available here,
I think it is. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
here.
I didn't think
Yeah.
it was shipping here yet. Could be.
How much is it?
I don't know.
it's a
Maybe
much
someone on the
cheaper
chat
car.
can help it, but yeah, I think it's cheaper than the Seal Performance.
I mean,
It's
if
around-
it
around
wasn't
60.
ready, just sit in it. You'll know it's a cheaper car. You don't have to turn
Oh
it
yeah,
on.
without a doubt. I wouldn't even buy an MG because I just don't like the way they're finished. They're still 5 years behind BYD as far as I'm concerned.
They're just a different market segment.
Yeah.
They're cheaper cars, and you expect a cheaper sticker price.
Yes.
You get in and you pull the fittings and things, and they move. The build is not the same, which is what one of the things is. Look at the sales figures of the cars in China, where they've got the choice
surprising
of
BYD
all
is
those
so good at
So
selling cars in China.
So you've got somebody who agrees with you, Ian. E&O is spot on with the Seal U. Full EV is overall much weaker looking product. Seems a waste of even marketing it here in Australia. So I think so we're just talking about MG. So let's just have a quick look at the sales. So Tesla and BYD are number one, number two. MG is number three. So they're pretty. So MG is doing well, but if you have a look at the breakdown, MG4 actually sold more than Tesla 3, and
Yeah, 3 has sold more than Tesla 3 sometimes too. I mean, sedans aren't that popular.
Yeah.
But BYD must be looking at that and saying, Tesla Model Y, we need to have a good competitor for that car because that car sells 3,000 a month, and
You
that's
would
their
think so.
key to increasing their sales.
And I think we all agree that the Seal U is not a Tesla Model 3 killer.
No, it's not
And
going
it's another weird experience in naming of BYD too. To give it the same name as the Seal, when it just conflicts everything else they're doing in naming. The Atto 3 name was a sort of a disaster as well. I mean, I can understand not wanting to call it the same name as the Chinese currency when selling it in Australia, basically. So they had to change the name from China, but it's like they had a thought and then they dropped it. They were going to have Atto 3, Atto 4, Atto 2 and things was one idea, and then no, it went by the wayside, and we've now got this Atto name that doesn't fit with anything.
So in China, is it the Money Plus, the Atto 3? Yuan Plus,
Well,
Money
yes,
Plus?
you could say that. But they're both named after a dynasty, effectively.
Yeah. Sure. That's where it came from. Yeah. But no, it's good that BYD have, at least they're a slightly different model to Tesla, where Tesla are very specific about the cars that they bring out, and BYD will go, oh, we don't care how much it costs, we'll just make 5 of the same car. Which I find really amazing that they don't want to try and make just one good model of a Model Y competitor. They have to make 3 different ones. It's bizarre, I think, but I'm not in the car business.
Well, I was really
4 already.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how BYD they came out with the Atto, and they came out with the Dolphin, and they came out with the Seal. And I thought they were really going places. But if you guys are right, and they're not bringing out a Y killer, they're bringing out a Seal U. I don't know what to say.
Well,
I think they're trying to target a RAV4 killer.
Well,
because if you look at the numbers, I suspect, well, actually, the RAV4 may not sell as many as the Tesla Model Y.
There it is.
3.8 seconds, eh? Yeah, I think we'll have to get him in on the panel.
You might have to have a test drive of that one, Ian, before you make the.
No.
But it's a very different car.
I was just going to say, Sensible should come on the panel with us. He seems to know what he's talking about.
Well, from what I've read about that MG4, most people prefer the rear-wheel drive car. They prefer the driving sensation of the rear-wheel drive car over the power of the four-wheel drive car.
Which is that with?
With the MG, the X Power, a lot of people.
I think it's a four-wheel drive as well. The powerful version is a four-wheel drive as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they prefer to drive the two-wheel drive version, which is less power than the four-wheel drive performance version, because it drives so much better because of the rear-wheel drive.
Right.
So from a car driving perspective.
So wouldn't an all-wheel drive be better than a rear-wheel drive?
Well, apparently not. But I don't know, Ian. You've driven the two You've driven the two BYDs. Which one do you prefer, the all-wheel drive or the rear-wheel drive?
Well, to be fair, if I was comparing that, I'd need to compare the Premier with the
Premium. You haven't driven the Premium yet. Yeah.
Because no one seems to have one.
Yeah. They might not have been in the first order.
So I had to go up to Brisbane to do the performance one, because down at Robina they only had the dynamic, which was disappointing. So
I didn't look at the badges of the cars that I saw in Sydney today. There seemed to be a lot of seals floating around.
No, we're talking about cars then. Sorry.
You'd think they'd be swimming instead of floating around.
It's funny, just as a light-hearted moment, I went to Robina and said, "Have there any seals?" They said, "No, just dolphins." Yeah, it was funny at the time. Time.
Yeah. So there's a lot of puns.
So at Alexandria, I saw, I think, about 4 seals, but about 10 at Mascot.
So I'd like to get everybody's comments on, I know you haven't driven them, so it's probably a bit unfair, but who do you think the dynamic and the performance and the Premier, who do you think their target markets are?
So in my case, I did put a deposit on a seal, and the one I chose was the dynamic, purely for the fact that I didn't think I'd enjoy the $10,000 more out of the extra power of the car. So I didn't think I'd enjoy it that much. And I'm a commuter. I'm not a touring car interstate driver to Canberra or something like that. If my primary role was driving from Sydney to Canberra, I'd probably buy the performance. But I commute. I don't go over 80 Ks in Sydney. So what do I need a performance car?
In Sydney traffic, you use performance more than you do on the trip to Canberra, I would suggest.
Yeah, but I just thought, and I don't like heavy cars either. I like light cars. So I thought, so these cars are getting up over 2 ton. They're pretty heavy cars now.
So the answer to Petty, the answer to the current question is absolutely not. Would you agree, Ian?
Which is that is the CLU a Model Y competitor?
Yeah.
It's not a very close match.
No.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
I suspect it may be cheaper than the Seal.
Yeah. So it's basically an underpowered version of a Model Y competitor. And if people want to have an underpowered version, it might do all right, but I don't think they will. I think they want to have something that's as good as the Model Y.
I think they're trying to go for a market who are really on the fence about getting an EV.
Yeah.
I think that's the target with the CLU.
Dan, I agree.
For the buyers of petrol cars, of hybrids, basically, and saying here's something that's more electric than a hybrid.
I guess it's all about price, really. If they want to bring in something that's like 40,000, then it's going to have to be something like BYD CLU. If they want to bring in a good competitor Model Y, yeah, sure, 65, and have a really nice car. But we don't know what market they're going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. What do you do is a real question, because you bring in the C-Line 07, which is just a tad bigger than the than the Model Y, but a very competitive car to the Model Y. Or you bring in the Song L, which would be probably the price of the Model Y, but much more luxurious and a nicer car, with a more sophisticated suspension again. Or you go all the way to the N7, which is probably out of the, would have to really stretch the brand in terms of getting that luxury under a Chinese car, but gives you a halo car,
Well,
So
in 6
we're
months'
over-
time, in
Sorry.
6 months' time, we'll find out the answer.
So, yeah.
So I've ridden in an N7 and it's an amazing car.
The M7.
What's that?
That's
What is that?
That's a Model Y competitor that's just a different level in terms of how it is when you see it.
Made by who?
Made by BYD.
What's it called?
The N7.
And that's in China, is it?
Yes.
So it's the same price as the Y?
I have to check the pricing compared to the Y. I would think it'd be the same price as the Y. Maybe slightly more.
So how does it compare with the C-Line 7?
So you've got the C-Line 7. In my view, from what I've seen, it seems like the C-Line 7, then the Song L is up above that again, and then the N7 is above that one step further.
Yeah, I've never even heard
So have
of
you ever
that
seen
one.
those
That's a new
French
one.
Divalette speakers?
I'm sorry?
Which one?
Have you ever seen the French speakers, Divalette?
Oh, Divalette. Yeah, I know. I'm a bit of an audiophile. I know Divalette. Yeah. They're
Right,
very
that's
nice.
the speakers you get in the N7.
Oh,
They're
well,
done
yeah,
by
that's-
Divalette.
Well, that's top shelf.
That gives you an
That's right up
idea.
there.
That's beyond anything else you can get.
Yeah, it's the highest
Yeah.
quality speakers you can buy in a domestic hi-fi system.
But if BYD were going to bring out a Y competitor, I don't think they'd find something that was more expensive. It would have made more sense to get the BYD Seal Line 7, because they could probably do that a bit cheaper. And from what I've read about it,
Yeah,
it sounds
that's the most economical of the three, and it would be the one with most price competitive and the best rival, I would think.
Yeah,
So-
they might
so
bring it out
if-
for less than 50,000. So
So if I was able to pull the chassis off the seal and put a bigger chassis on top, I'd buy that all day long.
that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that Model
and
Y
lots of people
competitor
are, and it's the
to come
closest
out.
equivalent is the C-Line 07.
So I'll probably hold off on the Seal because I just don't like sedans. I'm not a person who likes to get in and out of sedans all day. So yeah, I'll be holding off for the Model Y competitor if I change my car.
A Scud. Look, I have driven both the dynamic and the performance. I haven't driven the premium, but I'd imagine the premium, because it's got the bigger motor, because it's got the heads-up display, which is unbelievable, and that extra power, the bigger battery. I'd definitely spend the extra money. I think you'd always get it back in resale value as well. Yeah.
Yeah, look, you can always change your order. There's no drama. I mean, it's
Yeah, I also think that
it's going to be a
bigger
couple of months
batteries-
later.
In 5 years' time, by the time you may possibly be thinking of selling, the smaller batteries of today will seem very small.
Yeah.
I don't think we've reached the magic point where the size of batteries is just going to stop.
No.
growing.
Yeah.
It'll just keep getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So we'll get the 1,000-kilometer car in the next couple of years, if that's the case.
Yeah, we will. I mean, 1,000 kilometres on highway range is a fair way off yet. But yeah, you get 1,000 kilometres of highway range, and then I think, why have they bothered putting in all these high-speed chargers? Because you don't need much of a top-up to do a full day's driving and only need to charge overnight.
Yeah.
So
what is the range of? Sorry, Ian. What was the range of the 80 kilowatt-hour BYD Seal now? What are they up to? 560 or something?
So I have got that somewhere. Where have I got that?
It doesn't matter. It's got to be around. So we're talking 400 with a 60 kilowatt hour battery. So we got 80 kilowatts. So we're talking.
So the Premier is 650, and the
Whoa.
performance is 580.
That's.
So the problem that I've got is, you know how you're supposed to charge your battery up to 100% every week. I don't do enough kilometres. I mean, I'm actually going out and finding reasons to go for a drive so I can bring my battery down so I can charge it up. But anyway.
Yeah.
What was the range? Sorry, of the
So the range of the Premium is 650.
Right.
And the range of the Performance is 580.
Right.
But they say the range of the Dynamic Seal is 510, and it's got the same battery and same motor as the Atto. So I'm struggling to get 400 in my Atto. But anyway, I don't. Yeah.
Well, it depends on range under what circumstances. There's this idea that a vehicle has a range, which is just rubbish. It has a range under certain conditions. And the range under those test conditions, under the Chinese test conditions, are all urban and very weighted to, around town driving, are different than the NEDC, which was still assuming that EVs were mostly city cars, to now we've, got at least a range that has a mix in it. But most people care about the range, not when it's a mix of city and urban driving, but when it's all highway driving.
So,
anybody want to have a crack at that question down the bottom? Why would a Model Y owner move to, say, a Seal Y, assuming BYD bring the Seal Y competitor? Well, the best answer to that one is I don't like Model Ys. I think they're ugly. I would love to buy one, but they've been hit with the ugly stick as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I can't see a Model Y owner moving to the Seal U if they call it a Seal U, but they seem to be calling it a Seal U, weirdly enough. The Song Plus Champion Edition, you wouldn't move from a Model Y to that unless you had a problem with the Model Y had something wrong with it.
So let's just let's get off the Seal U, because that's just
you might move from a RAV4. I think that's much more its competitor.
But if someone has a Model Y, and if BYD brings out a fair competitor, a C line against it, why would they move? And I think it's like back in our days where we had Holden and Falcon, Holden and Ford. A Ford person would never buy a Holden, and a Holden person would never buy Ford. But what would happen is new people came to the market. I'd go either way. So I think the answer to your question is I can't see Model Y owners kind of selling their Y and getting a Seal because they've already made the conversion. They've already understand the Tesla, and they're happy with the heat. They're happy with everything else. So they're not going to change. So I don't think that's.
Plus, the Model Y owners only had the Model Y maximum of about a year in Australia.
Yeah, I don't expect many Tesla buyers to buy BYD because they're so used to that fantastic technology, and they're going to go back to BYD.
I've seen a lot of people buy Atto 3s that have Model 3s. Yeah, but they're not replacing the Model 3.
SUV. Yeah,
it's not their second car.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a second car. Yeah, because SUVs far better.
And they like the tech. There's different likes of the technology. I know people who don't like who feel that Tesla. There's pluses and minuses. Yeah. The no part is the best part. It goes a long way in Tesla. So they've now taken out parking sensors and radars and all sorts of things that some people feel I actually like having those things.
So we have to start answering some of these questions up here. But just before we do, just on that point on the distance, on the Seal I measured what it said on the dashboard as to how far it was and what it was in actual, and it was spot on. Dan, it's NEDC is what those ranges were.
Are you sure, Ian? Are you sure?
So what's that? Sorry,
NEDC is only used in China.
Models. I think they're
those figures that I was quoting.
Yep.
650 for the Premium, is well, I can. Show
I don't
you.
know whether it's WLTP or NDC. I
Yeah,
would hope it's WLTP.
Hey,
but-
have a look. That's what it says on their website.
Which
Yeah, but does it say whether it's
30.
WLTP or NEDC?
Yeah, just there. It says just there NEDC.
Yes.
Ooh. Oh, that's a
So
bad one.
NEDC
Yep.
basically is done at a lower speed.
Yeah, I understand that, but I was just comparing apples with apples. And
Yes,
remember what I said was the Atto was 480. So, and that was
That's NEDC as well.
Yeah, that's the NEDC. Yeah.
so comparing apples with apples.
So the Atto
in the
is
case-
480 NEDC, 510 on the Chinese, whatever it is, I forget the letters, and 420 on the WLTP,
Yeah.
and about 330 at 110.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. But when we're comparing the different ranges for the different models, I want
Yes.
to use exactly
Yeah,
the same.
and they were all NEDC figures, yes.
Yeah.
I don't really like NEDC. I think they should get rid of it. I think WLTP is a realistic figure. NEDC is just not even
No,
damn
NEDC
close,
is-
as they say. It's not really.
NEDC matches what I get around the city, but
Okay.
why do I care about range when I'm driving in the city?
Let's do some questions, guys.
Yep.
So,
I got a fan. Thank you.
I won't go into that one. Well, I chose the Seal over the Model 3 because it's more comfortable inside. Yeah, I agree when people are choosing between the two, they may go either way. But if you're a Tesla owner, if you're like, for example, Tesla Tom, the chances of him buying, he's supposed to have two and he's supposed to pick which one he has. The chance of him going for the Seal is pretty low because he's a Tesla convertee. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you like the minimalism. I mean, one of the things is, though, that not all people who bought a Tesla Model 3 are really Tesla people because they bought it in a vacuum. There wasn't a real competitor at the time until recently. It's like if you wanted value for money in an EV in Australia, it was pretty hard to go past a Tesla. Now there are choices.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. My channel, mate, I absolutely agree with you. Tesla does drive a little bit like a sports car, down to its minimum, to get better performance and range. Yeah, BYD feels like a performance Merc.
Well, it depends on the BYD. Some of them are just like a Merc. Yeah.
So, okay.
And I think that a Merc is a very good comparison. I notice, coming straight from a Merc to a BYD, the build quality and the feel, and there's a lot of, I think that, the fact that even the Denza that I mentioned is even still 10% owned by Merc. So
if you drove a C200 Merc and you drove a dynamic BYD Seal, it piles apart. The Seal Dynamic is much more of a performance car. You've got to go up to the 280 or whatever to get the same sort of performance. Because I had a 200 Merc and it did 0 to 100 in 10.5 seconds. So when I say that the Seals are performance Mercs out, you've got very fast performance and not so fast. Anyway, that's
Ian,
but then you get into a Seal U, you might feel more like that C200.
So what was that, Chris?
Are you driven a performance Seal? And if you put that up against, say, an AMG Merc, which is double the price, would you say they're basically similar to each other in the way they're built, in the way they drive, in the way they handle? So
I don't know anything about that really top.
Yeah,
I would
think one of the biggest differences is the badge.
Yeah. So you're getting basically a Mercedes product for half the price is what I'm trying to say. It's almost a Mercedes product for half the price, except it's going to be a different badge.
If you get the Atto 3 versus the EQA, you're missing some features compared to the EQA. But apart from those missing features, the quality is basically almost identical. And there's things to compensate for those missing features, because you've got a few things in the BYD you don't have in the EQA either. But you don't get memory seats.
Yep.
You don't even get automatic wipers. You don't get lumbar support.
Here we got a model free converter.
Things missing, but the quality of the things that are there are very good and equal to most Mercedes.
That's interesting. What Petty for Kings has put up as a Model 3 driver. Wow, I'm surprised that he'd consider going away from the Model 3, because I thought if I bought a Model 3 first, I'd be converted, because the technology and
I find the technology
is amazing.
The
I really
software
like
is way better in
the software. Sorry, the software, I should say. Yep.
Yeah, the software in Tesla is in a different league to the software you currently get in BYD.
Totally different. Yeah, absolutely.
But the technology in other aspects, it swings and roundabouts, and I would put it in some respects in favour of BYD. But you're getting a more performance-oriented car typically with and you're getting a more comfort-oriented car with. So even the Seal, my experience is that it's a good mix of comfort and performance, even in the performance version. And I haven't driven it, but I know I have good friends who are expert drivers, and that's what they tell me.
So Cam 975 totally agree with that. We've got one more here.
I don't see a market for plug-in hybrids, to be honest. I don't see why people would want to put petrol in a car. It's just stupid. Electricity is so much better. It's just dumb.
In Australia, 90% of people, 90% of new car buyers are currently still buying vehicles you put petrol in.
Yeah, but I know, but I went to the service. I had to put petrol in my lawnmower. I went to the service station. I bought 2 liters of petrol. It cost me $5. I couldn't believe it.
I'm not saying I do it, but we've got to be realistic and that's maybe what they're looking at. That these people who are otherwise going to buy a petrol car, can they give them a bridge? Sure. Maybe that's what their thought is. I agree with you. I don't like the CLU. I prefer they weren't bringing it, but. And I don't think it's great for the brand image.
Don't shoot the messenger, as they say. I agree with that one as well. I suppose we are just driving a car and we're not driving software, but the software does control a lot of the car. Drove both the Prim. What does that mean? I'm not quite. Drove both the Premier. Oh, have you? What did you think of the difference between the performance and the Premier?
In my case, I would choose the Premium, just for the fact that it's more energy efficient. I don't really. I love fast cars. Don't get me wrong, but my missus would absolutely freak if I hammered that thing, the performance car. She'd never talk to me again.
So I've got some interesting news now. I don't know how true it is, but I believe it is true. And that is that in the next update of the software for the Dolphin and for the BYD Atto 3, there's going to be some extra apps.
Finally.
The App Store. The App Store is on.
Yep.
There's actually an App Store.
Hang on, Ian. Hang on. Let me make my announcement.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Chrome, Netflix, and YouTube.
That's good.
Right. Didn't know about YouTube.
Do you know about Chrome?
I heard about a browser, but I didn't know it was Chrome specific. I thought it was a Chromium rather than Chrome.
It could be. I mean, it's so close, no one would know the difference. Maybe
Chrome
general
is the core without the Google bits.
Yeah.
It's the open source core.
Oh, yeah. We don't want Google bits.
You don't want Google bits and pieces, no.
Nah. It's too bloody hard.
Yes, I agree, Emmanuel. The performance is very sporty.
But what I'd like to see, Ian, I would like to see a total overhaul of the BYD software in the cars. If they could do that, that would make it so much better. If it ever comes, hopefully it does.
So I've had some people reaching out to me from Europe and United Kingdom, saying that what they want to do is to have a forum where we all talk about the software and what they need to do to improve it, to see if we can kind of drive some effort by BYD to solve some of the problems, like having when they predict what your range is, that it's actually close. They have slightly big, they have better dashboards, easier to read and things like that. So
yeah,
that's
I finally set my.
Well, I mean, there's such a range. I mean, even the things like, as you mentioned, the speed target on the driver console has insufficient contrast with the background. So you've got this greeny blue contrasted with a sky blue that's a green blue as well. It's not
where you polarize
pure blue and pure green or something. It's one blue green versus another blue green, really.
Yeah. The polarized sunglasses, they do magic for that. It just blends the green into the blue. You can't see a thing.
So I've got to wear glasses to read it, but anyway.
So the glasses you read, are they focal length for the dashboard?
Yes. Yeah.
So how do you go with the focal length for the road? Right, like that.
Well, so I'm using ones, so I can actually use one look long distance as well. So I've got reading glasses, but these are my driving glasses.
Anyway, we're talking about BYD, no glasses.
Right. But it's an interesting point that if they've designed it such that you need reading glasses, then it could be a problem for people. But there's a lot of problems. But it's also the whole vehicle software it's off the shelf, a lot of it. They've sort of bought software from Bosch and software from various things. They haven't really run their own software team.
Yeah. Well, I've turned all my emergency stuff off, except for the emergency braking, and I don't get any beeps in the car, and that makes me happy. I can't stand the car beeping at me all the time. I hate it. So now I've mastered. It doesn't. I get one beep in every 100 Ks. So I'm happy with that. But before I used to be like every 10 Ks I get a beep.
So when the problem with the software with the BYD, I think, is that it's not very intuitive. And one of the problems you've got 105 different settings. So I've developed, which I'm about to put out for all owners. For I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't. It's a cheat sheet. So it's on a page that does that. I don't know if you can see that. And you've got the breakdown of it all. Because the other day I wanted to turn my car phone charger back on because I had it turned off, and I couldn't remember how I did it. And I'm making all these videos about how to do things, and I couldn't even remember myself. So that's why I've done that. And that's something that if you want to set something up, do you go to vehicle settings? Do you go to car settings? Do you go to vehicle automation systems? Where do you go?
Once you have 105 settings, you really want the AI to be better. And the AI is actually, or the voice response is not that bad in that, there are several ways to say lots of things.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're about to wind. We're going to have to close now. We've gone for over an hour. I don't want people to get too bored. So let's just go through some of these. BYD have released a newer version of 5 of their software. It's much improved.
Ooh, that'd be exciting to see that. I just changed over to Windows 11 and I love it. So let's bring out new software.
I'm trying to work out what he's talking about. I think it's Windows 98, but anyway, that's another story.
Time to wind up, Ian.
We've got a lot of people
Oh,
Can't get the word in edgewise because we're talking too much.
oh, I hate lane keep assist. I would definitely. Oh, I'd never turn that on. Ugh, yuck. And the steering wheel vibrating in your hands. Oh, horrible stuff. Horrible.
But I mean, another classic thing is look at the driver display in front of you. You've got a single lane picture with one vehicle that's generic, even if you're following a motorcycle. I mean, that's the same sort of thing that vehicles have had.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
I just
I'm prepared to give BYD time. They're a huge company. They will. I'm prepared to give them time to get their software sorted. So I reckon
and the
2 or 3
software
years
can be
time.
upgraded.
Yeah,
and yet
2
the
or 3 years
engineering of the
time.
car is very good, and that bit is a lot harder to upgrade.
I will certainly do that, Cecil. Okay, cool. I think we're about to end it up. Any final words you'd like to say, Chris?
No, I'm just going for my test drive in the BYD Seal this Sunday. So I'm hoping to make a video about that for everybody. I think it's going to be the boring dynamic version. So I don't know, it might not be that exciting, but hopefully I can get a ride into the performance while I'm there. I'll have to ring them up and let them know that I do want to try the performance. But 68 grand, it's not much money. So who knows? Who knows what I'll end up with?
They've got quite a few Seals down there. I mean, the mascot is just a stone's throw away to get one from.
Yeah.
So, what final words do you have to say, mate?
Can't think of any other than we can do more on where things are headed next week, perhaps.
I wouldn't mind seeing if I can get someone from BYD to tell us what's going on. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you for everybody that's been watching, and hello to all those who are going to come and watch. We're just learning how to do these live streams. We're interrupting each other all the time, aren't we, Chris? But we'll sort it out.
Thanks everybody for watching us tonight, and hope you learned something about BYD, and I think it's going to be a very good future. BYD's, I think they're going to be the next Toyota. I can't see anything stopping them.
Toyota.
Yeah, they're going to not make it.
They're going to be number one. They're going to be number one.
And they are committed to it, and there is some real step up that's happened recently. We haven't seen how it translates yet, but there has been a real step up in commitment by BYD.
So so this is this one here too. So Chris has got his own channel, and it's Chris. You tell us what your channel is.
It's Chris EV Road Trips, and maybe next week I'll have my little banner in the background. So if anyone wants to watch my YouTube stuff, I'll have a little link up there.
Did you say it was boring before? No.
Which one?
Sorry,
I try and make it good. Making YouTube videos is not that easy, is it, Ian? It requires a lot of skill, a lot of patience.
About skill, but you need to have a pretty thick eye sometimes.
I only do web pages because I never get them right first go, but I can keep revising those. It's much harder to keep revising a video to get it right.
Yeah, so I'm a fan of your website. So if anybody wants to do some deep thinking, you should go to One Finite Planet. Very good. All right, well, see you all later, and we'll end it there. Okay, guys?
Okay, good night.
Yeah, good night.